cousins, I'm Shemaya. It's like papaya, except it's not, and this is Plot Twist Please. Let's get into it. It's not that I'm smart, I just stay with the questions much longer. That was a quote from the smartest person that ever lived. Well, at least that's what I was told once by somebody that I thought was important. Einstein. Yeah, come on, Al. Come on, Albert. Bert, my man. I wonder if he would rather go by Albert or Einstein or Al or Bert. I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comments. What do you think he would go by? I like finding nicknames for our heroes. You know, I think it humanizes them. Anywho, let's hear from a smart woman. Because women, am I right? This is what Lena Horne has to say about intelligence. Always be smarter than the people who hire you. Honestly, bars, she was cooking. If you don't know, Lena Horne, it was a Black actress in the early 90s who really was a trailblazer for Black women in film. Literally Black Hollywood royalty. Read about it. Learn about it. And also, according to publications, she was besties with Marilyn Monroe. Frankly, I think she was one of the smartest women of her time. And I don't care what you have to say about it. I don't care. Actually, I do care. So let me know in the comments what you think. Because we're going to keep the conversation going and flowing, you feels? So I've included that introduction because today we're talking about, you guessed it, intelligence. Yeah, you're a smarty. I know, I can tell. Because everyone who listens to this podcast is smart. So let's dive right in, shall we? But wait, before we do that, don't forget to like this episode on YouTube or on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify, because it really does help boost it in the algorithm. Sharing is the best thing you can do. Share in your group chat, in your Facebook groups, but commenting also helps a lot. And if you're new here, hi, I'm Shemaya. I'm on the autism spectrum, and I'm also a Black woman, as you can probably tell. And I like talking about pop culture in order to make our brains cozier. So let's go ahead and do it. Today, I wanted to talk about all the different kinds of intelligence that people can have. Now, I think that different groups of people can value different types of intelligence. For example, existential intelligence, the knowledge and understanding of things beyond what's in front of you, things you can see with your naked eye. I think that kind of intelligence is valued in religious or spiritual circles. Logical, mathematical kind of intelligence is probably valued more in the medical field. Interpersonal kind of intelligence would probably be valued if you are a social worker or if you work with people or if you're in customer service, you know, all that good stuff. There's lots on the menu. So let's slice up this appetizer into digestible bites, shall we? Chapter 1, Types of Intelligence. Here is an incomplete list of the different types of intelligence. And I say incomplete list really intentionally because nothing is finite, girl. We're all just here lollygagging. Nothing is set in stone. We're constantly learning. Experts are constantly uncovering new information. And until new information reveals itself, these are the different types. Actually, this just in from my producer, which is me because it's a one-woman show. The theory of intelligence that I'm about to talk about is based on Howard Gardner's 1998 book, Frames of Mind, The Theory of Multiple Intelligences. Ooh, not 1998, 1983, girl, 1983. Mind you, this theory has taken heat from psychologists and educators alike, but many educators use this as a valid framework to help different kinds of students harness their unique strengths. And I say, right on. I salute you. So we're going to talk about them anyway. Go cry about it. The first one I'm talking about is visual spatial intelligence. People with this kind of intelligence tend to read and write, or, listen to podcasts like this one, for funsies. Basically, you can interpret puzzles, pictures, graphs, and charts really well. You tend to enjoy visual arts. You tend to recognize patterns easily. Maybe you're an architect, an artist, or an engineer. Also, speaking of architects, I've never met a single architect or anyone who knew a single architect. So are y'all still around? I know y'all must be around because buildings are popping up in Chicago left and right. But where are y'all? Reveal yourselves. Why are you hiding from us? What secrets do you not want us to know? Anyway, next, let's talk about linguistic and verbal intelligence. So y'all, if you have this, you are the storytellers. People in this category tend to remember verbal or spoken information really well. They tend to enjoy reading and writing. They like debating or giving speeches, and they love telling stories. This is the reason why, as I was growing up, people always thought I was going to be a lawyer. I mean, listen, I've been to the White House, but not for that. Not for that. I mean, I have friends who are lawyers. I love y'all. Love y'all. That's not for me. I'm going to stick to my Law and Order. I'm going to stick to my CSMA. We're good over here. This is as far as I need to go when it comes to the justice system. Next, logical and mathematical kinds of intelligence. So this is the one that I think most autistic people tend to have in abundance, but it might not appear the way you think it would. Oh no, I say. I say to you, people with this kind of intelligence have incredible problem-solving skills, enjoy abstract thinking, like conducting complex experiments, and tend to be good at solving complex equations. Now, I went as far in math as I possibly could in school. And this is not me trying to flex, like, oh, I'm so smart. Oh. But I took like the highest level of math you could possibly take in high school. And I hated math. I hated it. I hated it because it seemed like all of the rules were constantly changing. And it was like, oh, well, you get to do this kind of equation unless you see this kind of variable, unless it's this kind of configuration. Then you have to do this other kind of equation unless there's this kind. And it's like, oh, so none of the rules are set in stone. So we're lying. Math is lying all the time. Okay, got it. It was royally ticking me off the way I had to keep learning new ways of figuring out equations every single year. Every single year. And I was like, can we make a decision? Listen, I'm no mathematician, but if I were, there would be some changes around here. Now, listen up, Buttercup. You may think I'm talking about math and science exclusively, but I'm not. With this kind of intelligence, I find that I, along with other autistic people, who I've been in close proximity with, will purposefully conduct little experiments involving people. We'll do this as long as it doesn't hurt people, of course. Sometimes we'll do this with ideas as well, figuring out what works socially, what doesn't work. It's why I like acting so much, I think. Every time I say a line, I get to try out a new formula. When it comes to content creation and theater, where you get multiple performances to try out the same idea, it's my drug. It's my drug. Experimenting as an actor, trying out the algorithm as someone who makes stuff on the internet, that's my shtick. Also, there's something about me or other autistics of the feminine variety that I find to be interesting. And it's that people will assume we aren't logical because we are extremely in tune with our emotions. It's the whole Manic, Pixie, Dream Girl effect. And in reality, we are solving equations constantly that have to do with socializing. And we're doing it all the time. No wonder we're exhausted, right? No wonder we're iron deficient. Any other iron deficient queens in the house? Next, musical intelligence. This one might be self-explanatory, but basically, if you fall under this category, you probably recognize musical patterns extremely well, have a rich understanding of musical structure, and or enjoy singing or playing an instrument. Hot take? Well, okay, it might be a lukewarm take if you've ever been on the internet before, but I think musical intelligence and logical or visual/spatial intelligence can go hand in hand. Because essentially, music is a bunch of patterns. That's what music is. It's math. It's a bunch of equations, a time signature, and figuring out how the time signature relates to the notes in each measure. That's mathematical. And you're doing those equations in real time. That's what sight reading is. Also, with the spatial awareness kind of thing, if you are a singer, then typically you have to be in tune with what your body is doing. And a lot of autistic people are either hyper in tune with what their body is doing or not at all. So it's like either side of the spectrum, the odds are really fun there. But I tend to be someone who's very in tune with my body as far as music goes. As far as feeding myself, not a ton. We've gotten better. But when it comes to music, it comes really naturally to me. And for autistic people who are musically inclined, I think it tends to. But everyone's different. When you've met one autistic person, you've met one autistic person, Also, bless up to Beethoven. That man was autistic. I think he was. Big ups to that guy. But it this discussion about art and math also reminds me of the STEAM versus STEM debate. Do you know? Do you know? So if you don't know, STEAM stands for science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. And it used to be just STEM. So science, technology, engineering, math, without the arts part. And for a long time, these areas of study were coveted for being the core areas that would create successful students who would later become successful adults who would change the world, or, whatever it was. Something like that. In recent years, though, that acronym has expanded to include the arts. Basically, a bunch of important people said that the arts actually do matter, and they were right. So now we recognize that acronym as STEAM. Peace, love, and respect to the STEM folks, but STEAM is a more well-rounded kind of education. I've worked in corporate America, and when someone has never taken a drama class, it is painfully obvious. When you run a meeting, but you are not used to speaking to people or to having stage presence, it shows. All jokes aside, the arts foster mental flexibility, problem-solving skills, interpersonal skills, and confidence that you need to succeed in any career. And I'm not the only person who thinks so. Studies show that music and the arts literally change the physiological makeup of your brain and give you an advantage over people who are not as integrated in those subjects or who don't engage with them as vigorously. But listen, I'll get off my soapbox for now. Next, bodily and kinesthetic intelligence. This one has to do with bodily awareness. Athletes, dancers, people who create things with their hands. It's their bread and butter. Oh, this is the one I was talking about that goes along with musical intelligence in my head. This is the one, not spatial intelligence. This one. Sorry, one woman show. But basically, this is their bread and butter. They are the folks who tend to remember by doing as opposed to any other method. Lots of actors tend to come out of here, so... Next, interpersonal intelligence. People who have this in abundance are good at figuring out what people need. They're great in group settings, have strong nonverbal communication skills, and are very in tune with other people's emotions and motivations. I feel like this can go south so fast. Hard line to walk. Next, intrapersonal intelligence, not to be confused with interpersonal intelligence. I think autistic people have this one on lock, purely because we have to. It's basically the kind of intelligence that allows you to analyze your strengths and weaknesses, enjoy analyzing theories and ideas, which we love to do. We love being up here in the cranium. We could live up here if we could. We could set up a little campsite and just stay in there if we really could. But yeah, we enjoy analyzing theories and ideas and have more self-awareness typically than the average person. Now, of course, this doesn't go for all autistic people, but it tends to be what I find. Next, naturalistic intelligence. If you've got this kind of intelligence, you probably are in tune with nature and tend to catalog information easily that has to do with your environment. People who work in greenhouses, be landscapers too. You probably enjoy camping, gardening, hiking, and the like. Folks like this are known to be aware of subtle changes in their environment. Good on you, because I don't be paying attention to what happens out here. Ooh, ding, 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 bonus one. Existential intelligence. If you're constantly asking yourself philosophical questions and find conversations boring unless they're tackling the meaning of life and the origin of pillars within the human condition, clap your hands. Yeah, me too. If this is you, a huge strength you have is your ability to see the big picture. You're not caught up on the details that don't matter. You're always asking why. You tend to be future-oriented and have a strong interest in others. Very good at taking other perspectives, you are. Good on you. No wonder you listen to this podcast. So those are the only kinds of intelligence that will ever be, and this analysis is infallible. Just kidding. You get it. It can change over time. If intelligence exists in at least 9 forms, why do so many autistic children fall through the cracks? This leads us to Chapter 2, Childhood Education and Prejudice. To start, 2/3 of neurodivergent children in early childhood education may not receive state-funded support, which means it has to be supplemented by the school itself. And we know public schools are loaded, right? Just loaded. Funds galore, right? A lot of autistic children fall through the cracks. And when I say fall through the cracks, I mean not get extra assistance when they need it, not getting extensions on homework, which students do in college all the time. So we need to chill out about making kids turn things up. It is also so common. Oh my gosh, you don't fail if you ask for an extension in school or in life. And I wish someone had told me this while I was freaking out over papers in college. And even in high school, it's like, y'all, the world is actually more lenient than you lead us to believe it is. So give us a break. Accommodations might also include having something explained differently. Everyone doesn't process information by reading a textbook or having a teacher speak words at you. Some needed examples, practicing real-life scenarios, visual representations, etc., etc. And learning in one way, processing information in one way, or multiple ways that aren't presented as options in front of you, that might lead people to believe that you are, quote, stupid, which is a shame. In my experience as an autistic student, I remember always being really good at school. You might say I'm contradicting myself, but I'm not. You'll soon see why. Patience, hun. Because I was constantly getting A's in school. The adults in my community, the counselors, the teachers thought that since I was a pleasure to have in class, they didn't need to, quote, worry about me. And I stayed out of trouble for sure. Late diagnosed autistic things. But that being said, I realized that being good in school, at least in the public school system circa 2008, simply might mean being good at memorizing and being able to concentrate. And everyone is not good at those things, but it doesn't mean that those people aren't smart. Also, and as well, I realize how much social energy school involves, and that could also take away from the energy needed to focus, don't you think? And speaking of it being exhausting, I ended up staying home for a year after I graduated college because my family convinced me to, and I wasn't originally going to, but they sat me down one day and were like, you are exhausted and you seem like you're about to have a nervous breakdown, so you're coming home. And I am so grateful that they made that decision for me, because I needed that year. I needed to be home. I needed to not have to worry about paying rent after just barreling my way through school, after bulldozing my way through school and all the extracurricular activities and work. Like I needed a moment, and I was not able to recognize that myself. So how do we remedy this, right? Chapter 3, harnessing your intelligence. Okay, muffins, I like to talk about solutions over here. So that's what we're going to do. I think it is extremely important to know how your brain works, to be self-aware of how you learn, how you process information, and how you retain information, as well as to be privy to the environments in which you do your best work. I know that I can't work well in an environment that is really completely silent. I kind of have to have a constant buzz in my ear, whether that's music or a podcast or just the hub of a cafe. I need something going on in order for me to focus on what I'm doing. And lastly, I think it's extremely important to expect, if you're autistic, expect people to think that you're dead. And I say that because not as if to say that you should just give up and let people get away with their prejudice. I say that to free you from the desire to, quote, prove people wrong, because at the end of the day, it's not about them. It's about you. At the end of the day, if you are doing something you are proud of, if you are confident in your abilities and you have what you need in order to execute them, I don't think anything else matters. People will see in due time. I know that is hard. But I frankly have found it a waste of energy to try and convince people how smart I am. I simply don't have enough hours in the day. I'm too busy trying to make things. And do things to spend time worrying about if somebody thinks what I'm doing is valid. And if I am understanding your situation through this screen, through this microphone, without meeting you accurately, then I would say that you don't have that time or energy either. That's all I have for today. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Good to meet you or see you again. Be blessed and stay weird. Bye.